Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game. This was sent to me by Pandasaurus, and is designed by Stefan Bendorf. You have a copy of the game in your hands. Open this box, and you and your friends will never want to put it away. This highly addictive, award-winning card game pits the players against the game itself. Everyone must work together to play all of the cards in 2 decks that represent the passage of time. The ultimate game. Are you ready to play? Let me show you how to play the game. So the game is very simple. During the game, you have 4 rows of cards in the middle of the table. 2 rows are in ascending order, going from 1 up to 99, and 2 rows are in descending order, going from 100 down to 2. Everyone is together on the same team and tries to place as many cards as they can. Specifically, you want to try to play all 98 cards, if possible, into the 4 rows. Each player starts with a certain number of cards, depending on how many players there are. And now here are the rules for placement. In an ascending row of cards, the number of each card placed must always be greater than the card laid before it. How much space left between the cards doesn't matter. So like if I could put like a 9 here, that means the next card has to be higher than 9. Now the smaller the space between cards left, the better, so that you can place as many cards as possible. In a descending row, it's the opposite. Now if I was lucky enough and I had the 99 in my hand, I could put it right here. This just means the next card has to be lower than 99. Now, on your turn, you have to play at least 2 cards, which is tricky because, you don't necessarily want to mess things up. So let's say I look at my hand here and I go, all right, I'm going to play this 8 here in this row. And then we'll play a 15 on the top. So you place it over the 9. Now you may place more cards if you like, but you only have to play at least 2. As soon as you're done, you go ahead and draw up back to the number of cards you had from the beginning. As the game continues, these piles will get bigger and bigger as you place more and more cards. However, there is one exception that lets you play in the reverse order, and this is very important. It's called the backwards trick. So let's say I played a 79 on this, okay? Now, if I have a card that is exactly 10 greater, or 10 less, in this case 10 greater, then I can break the rule. Oh, this is an 89. This is actually a problem I have with this game, is that they don't have the lines underneath the numbers. That's a little bit of an oversight, I think. But anyway, so if I play the 79, I could then play the 89. Normally that would break the rule, but in this case, if I have exactly 10 greater than any card in a descending row, I can play it, which will almost sort of reset it back up to 89. The same thing goes for a ascending row. Let's say there was a 62 already on the pile. If I had 2 of these in my hand, if I was lucky enough, I could go 10 down, 10 down, like that. You can use the backwards trick as many times as you like and on different piles, and that can be very useful if you need to sort of mitigate some of the damage that has been done with skipping cards. Now, during the game, you are never allowed to ask others the exact numbers on their cards or reveal the numbers on your own cards. You can never talk about any numbers. Otherwise, you can communicate by saying something like, can you not play something in the last pile, or don't make a big jump here, or don't play a card here. You can communicate that way, but you can never say what numbers you have. That's all you do, is you kind of keep playing that way. You're adding cards to the piles, 2 on each turn as you go. Now, when this deck runs out, then each player only has to play a single card on their turn. If somebody runs out of cards, they're out, and they wait for the rest to finish. The game is over as soon as a player cannot play the minimum number of cards during their turn. So if you ever have a turn where you can't play, your team loses. When the game is over, you just count how many cards were not placed. If you have less than 10, that's considered an excellent result. However, if you're like me, you want to try to beat the game. So you want to try to play every single card. If you played all the cards in the rows, that's considered a victory. And that's it. You're just playing cards, ascending, descending, trying to work together, and if you can, use the backwards trick to try to get through all the cards. And that's the game. So I think the game has a terrible name, but it's pretty fun. It's obviously very influenced by The Mind, and I think that game is actually still a better experience, even though this one technically has a more concrete design. This game still has the same appeal of kind of like you know, co-op where you can't share all your information, but you're trying to work together to shed your cards. But in this game, I feel like the decisions are a lot easier to make. I also think, however, that just bad draw luck can damn you in this game, way more than in the mind. You can be doing incredibly well, but if this one card happened to be at the bottom of the pile, there was pretty much nothing you could have done. The best part of this game is the whole 10 above or 10 below backward system, which can lead to really kind of smart, satisfying combos that can fix the piles. Like, oh, okay, if I play this and I can play this card, then bam. That's really fun. I think what could have made this game better were maybe a couple more rules like this. Even though they would make the game easier, it would also mitigate some of the bad luck of the draw that you can get from this, which I think is the worst part of this game. And I think, like, you know, to make it, you could also just be like, oh, if you want to, these are some of the powers, and if you want to make it harder, you can take away some of the powers. That to me would have been, I think, a better approach, because this is trying to be like, oh, can you beat the challenge? But sometimes it just didn't feel like it was super fair, even though we were playing extremely well. Because at the end of the day, like, I like this game. It scratches a similar itch to the mind, but it doesn't reach that same level of memorability or greatness to me. It still has that addictive quality of, oh, let's try again. But unlike the mind, which even though you're just silently placing cards, I feel oddly enough there's more under your control in that game. Whereas in some plays of this game, the game, I would go, oh, well, we can't win because this card showed up and we just could not have accounted for this no matter what. This isn't actually our fault. This is just bad luck. And that kind of sucks. Overall, though, it's still fun. Just a little wonky sometimes in the bad luck department. But, you know, it's also a short game, so it's meant to be played multiple times. Overall, pretty good.